Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. As you can see, Frankenstein's come down from his perch on the wall behind me. It does him good to have a bit of exercise every now and again. The main reason I'm using this guitar today is because it has a fantastic sound, I think, for playing slide guitar, which is, as you've gathered, what we're about today. Now, this isn't an accomplished slide guitarist showing you the intricacies of the art of slide guitar. Far from it. Think of this more as a fat, bald northern lad who doesn't really play slide very well, showing you how you can bluff your way through, like I've done for countless years. What I'm going to show you today is basically how to play a little bit of blues using a slide in standard tuning. The reason I favour standard tuning is because, frankly, I'm lazy and it stops me having to learn all new scale patterns and note locations and stuff along the neck. And I just find it easier that way, to be honest. So whichever way you play slide, there are a few essential techniques that you're going to need to master in terms of kind of hands-on stuff. The techniques that are essential to playing slide. So here's a little bit of information about those. Okay then, let's have a little bit of a look at some basic slide technique. First thing you've got to decide is which finger you're going to wear it on. For me, it's the third finger. For some other people, it's the pinky. That's the Joe Walsh finger there, and as I say, for me, it's there. Now, what you're doing when you're playing slide is obviously you're not pressing the strings down as you would with your fingers when you're playing the guitar. You're just gliding along the top of the strings like this. Okay, so that's what gives slide its characteristic sound. It takes a very light touch. The other thing that I'm doing, you'll notice, is I'm keeping fingers on the strings behind the slide. This prevents any overtones happening from the strings. Essentially, by moving the slide along the string, it's having the same kind of effect as, in a small way, as a violin bow on a violin string. And that will cause vibrations on kind of this part of the string here, and they're going to create some dissonant, nasty overtones that we don't want because they'll interfere with the notes that we want on this side of the slide. So damp the strings behind the slide like that. Next thing is where to go for your notes. If you were to play this note here, for instance, or let's say this note here, this A note at the 10th fret on the B string, if I'm going to play that note just with a finger, that's where I'll put my finger. However, if I'm going to play that with a slide and I put the slide at that point there, it's going to sound flat. Listen. There's the note we want. And when I go there with the slide, it sounds flat. What you need to do is go to the actual directly over the fret like that, just the actual location of the note. Okay, so there's the note. And then with the slide, like that. And of course you can always disguise any little discrepancies with a bit of vibrato. Just enhances it, really. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start thinking about notes that I can solo with. And the reason I play slide in standard tuning is because all of the notes are where I left them. I'm not having to learn new shapes and patterns. So let's say I wanted to do this little run like that with which is just basically D major pentatonic. I would go I'll do it again a little bit better. And you can start maybe fooling around trying to find some tunes, that kind of thing. It does help to have your action a little bit higher to play slide with, but you can kind of manage, as you can see I'm doing here, just with a regular action, providing you've got a light enough slide. The main source of wrong notes usually comes when you're moving from one string to another. It's fairly easy when you can go from one string to another at the same fret, like this. You can let the notes run together a little bit. You've got, in fact, got this D major chord shape here that you can have some fun with. But let's say I wanted to go from this note to this note here. What I don't want is, as I'm moving up from the 7th to the 9th fret with a slide, I don't want this note on the 2nd string to start creeping in. So I've got to do a nifty little bit of muting. And you can see there, it's that finger. It's just, well, it doesn't have to be that finger, but you just basically need to do a little bit of crafty muting with your right hand, with your picking hand. Like that. You can see as soon as I start moving and I'm going to be in danger of clipping that note with the slide, I mute that string. When I'm going in the opposite direction, let's say I want to go from this note to this note, okay, what could happen is I could go like that, and as I'm going from the 11th fret down to the 10th fret, the slide will come down to the 10th fret on the 3rd string, and we'll get that note like you just heard there. So what I do under those circumstances is I mute again, but I mute with the thumb this time. Like that. There's the thumb muting. There's the next note. So these are all the techniques that you're going to have to practice and just build them into your playing until they become second nature, and then just apply these techniques using the slide to all of your familiar scale patterns. So you could have all of those kind of licks, and all I'm doing there is just blues licks, basically using the pentatonic scales and chord notes from, like in this case it would be a D7 chord, and a G7 chord, like that. And basically those are the slide techniques that you can learn and apply and start playing solos with. Okay, so once you've mastered those techniques, and it is going to take a bit of practice, the next thing to do is to start thinking about licks. We're going to come to some lick ideas in a moment, but I mean the most obvious one is if you take this kind of straight line shape on the 4th, 3rd and 2nd strings. That gives you a nice major chord that you can kind of do, you know, sort of like that. And if you take the 3rd string note and drop it down 2 frets, it gives you a nice kind of dominant 7th bluesy sort of feel. And then you start spotting other notes elsewhere that you can go for, like, you know, for instance, let me put the slide down. You can easily take that shape there and put your little finger on. This would be at the 17th fret for an A chord, and get that kind of thing. So you can bring those two notes in. like that. And, you know, you can move that around the 3 chords in a blues, A, D and E, or A7, D7 and E7, and, you know, create some licks just off the back of those. But the main way that I create slide guitar licks is, well, I don't really. I don't create specific slide licks. I just have licks that I would play if I wasn't playing with a slide. And what I've learned to do over the years is just translate those into, you know, a slide technique. Here's 5 licks that I habitually tend to rely on when I'm playing blues, and you'll hear them played without the slide and with the slide. So there you can see, you know, it's just a case of learning the techniques, especially those muting techniques when you've got to go from, say, the 9th fret on the 3rd string to the 8th fret on the 2nd string to get that kind of thing there, that thumb muting and finger muting that I mentioned earlier in the video. Just once you've mastered those, you can fairly easily translate any of your normal comfort zone licks that you would habitually play into things that you can play with a slide. And then just sit there with a jam track. There's one in the description box you can download and play along with till your heart's content. And yeah, just get some experience doing it and getting the feel of it under your fingers or under your slide. I just want to say at this point a big thank you to a really good friend of mine. He's probably the best slide guitarist I've heard, and you won't have heard of him because he's not famous. He's called Joe Ballantyne, and I've known him for a few years now, and he is a real slide guitar Jedi, and he's always been very encouraging and you know, with his constructive criticism and his feedback when I've sent little slide attempts that I've done to him for critique. And, you know, he's really kind of encouraged me and made me believe that this is a technique that I can do to an extent. Joe's thinking about, he's toying with the idea of doing Skype lessons. So if you're interested in some lessons from a real slide guitar Jedi like him, as soon as he gets all of his ducks in a row and gets everything set up so that he can do the tuition via Skype, I will be sure to let you know if you're interested in that style. Speaking of tuition, don't forget my Udemy courses. There are big discounts on those at the moment. And once again, I just checked the other day, my entry-level lead guitar course, Play Lead Guitar the Easy Way, is still the highest rated lead guitar course on Udemy, and I believe there are discounts on that as well as all the others. I'm currently working on a sequel for that one, and I'll keep you posted as that develops. And that's pretty much it for today, folks. I do hope you've enjoyed the video, found it useful, informative, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. If that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell and give me a like while you're at it. And I'll just round off by saying thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I do look forward to seeing you all again next time around. Bye for now, folks. And don't forget before you go to check out my Udemy courses, which you can see are available via my website, which is also where you can contact me to get in touch for some one-to-one tuition, either via Skype or in person if you live local to me. I also have merchandise available on my Teespring store, and of course all of the links are in the description. See you next time, chaps.